Hello, welcome to Cooking with Gina. My name is Gina Virginia Casella. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook group at Gina Virginia Casella, and I'd love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. Today on Cooking with Gina, I've got some leftovers here. What am I making? I don't know. I'm going to show you my ingredients, but I could change my mind. That's how the foraging ways of cooking go. So I have some leftover spaghetti with basil sauce. So I'm going to basically just pan fry this to warm it up, but I'm going to be adding some other ingredients to it. I'm still figuring it out. I think at this moment anyways, my intention is to take these carrots, slice and dice them, and mix this up with some soy sauce, and some plum sauce. And that's going to be like a little side dish on its own. Something like this I would typically make with rice, but since I have some leftover spaghetti, I might as well do that. I thought about mixing the spaghetti with this and just it would all come together, but I'm really excited to test out this cheese. So I want to chop up this cheese and mix it with this almond milk to see if I can get like a sauce going. So today's a bit of an experiment, and it's hard not eating this right now. As I use the products, I'll show you them. May or may not make a side dish and or add it to my pasta noodles. I've got some pears, of course these peppers. I pulled 3 of them because I'm going to eat 1 or 2 of them right now. Let's not kid ourselves. And then I've got some more fresh basil, and I found some fresh parsley as well. So step 1, I'm going to focus on the carrots because those are going to take the longest to cook. And I also have some beets here that I'm going to be mixing in at some point. I'm still figuring it out. That's part of the ways of knowing. And for me, part of the ways of knowing is just doing. You know, when I was a teacher, I would tell the educational assistants, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just doing. Because they would always ask me, how can I help you? If there's something that I can photocopy with you or cut up, let me know. And it's like, I don't know how you can help me because I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just doing. Or I would just sit there in my classroom and look at the walls and just let the ideas forage. And it was really great. And I'm wondering if you can relate. Anyways, I was just going to mention that I'd like to use some pumpkin seeds today because yesterday I used sunflower seeds. And so even though I'm going to be, reheating this, I still wanted it to be like a completely new dish on its own. So I'm wondering, how do you reuse your ingredients? How do you find balance so everything's not always tasting the same when it comes to reheating your food? So let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. I forgot to mention too that yesterday I thought I drank the last moose head, but I found another one inside the fridge. So that was a nice surprise to me. And I swear I drank the last one. So I thought this was like a gift from the universe. If you can relate, let me know in the comments. Maybe a fairy left it for me. I don't know, but I'm thankful. It was really good yesterday and it's really good now. So I'm still figuring out what I'm doing. If you're at home and you're like, oh, Gina's got this recipe in mind. She's got these ingredients. I'm going to run to my kitchen, get those ingredients. I want to warn you, I could change my mind. That's all part of the foraging. I'm wondering if you can relate in the comments. So I've got 2 pans here, and Rosie's making an appearance again. There she is, Rosie, on Cooking with Gina, Cooking with Rosie, trying to, maybe all these ideas are coming from her. So I'm starting with the carrots because they take the longest to, cook. And I don't have to worry about boiling my noodles because they're already ready. So I'm intentionally going to take maybe just this much of this carrot, and I'm going to slice it into really small pieces and start softening it in my pan because I want to mix that in with my spaghetti noodles. So I'm just going to do that right now. So just bringing you closer here. So that one little half of the carrot, I sliced it lengthwise. Some pieces are a bit thicker than others. Oh wow! And they're on the thin side. That way they won't take very long to cook. And I just want them to soften. I don't want them to be like a mush. One time I was boiling carrots and I totally I overcooked them and I ended up just mashing them like mashed potatoes, and it was a really nice change for a side dish. I'm wondering if you can relate. What do you do in those kitchen situations? So I'm going to add water to this and just let the good times roll. If I wanted to, I could boil the water and then add the carrots, but I intentionally want there to be a little bit of a broth, if you will, that's starting. So my intention is to add water, boil it, and at some point add my new favorite, butter, Earth Balance. This one is original and it's in like this yellow orangey color, and it's vegan. I'm not being endorsed by these companies, just sharing what I'm using. What are you using? Let me know. So for the other carrots, I'm basically going to do the same thing. In the past, when I've done this, I've left them big like this, just to kind of, I don't want to say mimic meat, but to be that meat substitute where you're cutting into something and eating it. But it's just me eating, dining for one right now. So I like leaving carrots in big pieces like this because it's enjoyable to eat it. But I'm going to just slice it in half sizes, about this thick. How thick? I don't know, this thick. So I'm going to do that right now and I'll be right back. And the reason I'm doing it is because since I'm dining for one, might as well cut the food up. And then it's just ready for me to dig in when it's ready. How about you? Can you relate? So I've cut up my carrots and I'm going to sneak a piece. It's rude to talk with food in your mouth, but this is cooking with Gina. And these carrots are really good. They're perfect to eat right now. And so I'm going to add a little bit of water. And so my intention is that this is going to be like the transform and transcended pasta dinner from last night. And then this here, I'm going to mix with plum sauce and soya sauce to make like a side dish out of it. So I've got both elements on high. And at this moment, I don't feel like I need to put a lid on them because intentionally I want the water to evaporate. That's going to be fine. And intentionally, I don't want them to be turning to mush. I don't want it to be like a mashed potato texture. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hungry about dinner today. And I'm wondering about you. What's cooking? There's not a lot of beets left in here, and I just love beets. Beets for me, it's one of those things that I don't just eat like one or two. When I eat beets, I eat a lot of beets at once. I'm wondering if you can relate. This brand is Bix. I'm not being endorsed by Bix. Hey, Bix, if you want to endorse me or any other brand that I mentioned, I would love that. And for what it's worth, if I'm using something that is not vegan, please let me know in the comments. This is a learning curve for me, and it's a really exciting one. I also want to start toasting my pumpkin seeds. So I'm just going to put these in this little banana bread dish. That's what I call it. How much? Maybe that much. That's the nice thing about seeds. Some of you might be wondering, why don't you just roast all of the seeds and then you don't have to worry about it? Well, I don't want to roast them all because you just can't beat the freshness when you do it the day of. And also, I also enjoy just eating them raw like this. So I guess it depends on what I'm doing. And all seeds and nuts have a natural oil within them. So when you heat them up, those oils come out and then you can salt them on your own. So I know that just while I'm thinking about it, I know that the sunflower seeds that I put in here yesterday are going to be a little bit softer, just because they've been soaking up the oil that's in here, and that's okay. If I wasn't completely transforming and transcending these leftovers, I would just pan fry this like it is. I could microwave it, but I prefer not to use the microwave. And there's just so much you can do. I even thought about it with those big pieces of basil. I thought maybe I could wrap the spaghetti in the basil and eat it like that. It's hard for me not to dig into here right now, but it's going to be worth it. So my water is starting to boil here. I'm just going to reduce the heat to 8. The folks that I live with right now, they let me know that they officially purchased a new fridge and they got some deals, so they're actually getting a new stove as well. Those things are expected to come in on Tuesday, but they actually might come in on Saturday. So that's really exciting. And anyways, I find this oven to be on the hot side. So I reduced it to 8. And last time when I did cooking with Gina, when I was using the fan, well, a few times ago now, I was worried that it was drowning me out. But this little microphone is really working out for me. So I'm thankful for that. And if you can't hear me, let me know. These are the ways of knowing that I'm foraging. So I just put the pumpkin seeds in the toaster oven, and it's got different options: bake, broiled, toast. And so I put it on bake. I intentionally like the top and the bottom to be on, and I'm wondering about you. Even when I'm making garlic bread, I like never use the broil feature. I always use the bake feature, even when I'm making toast. And so I'm just even getting used to this toaster, and I'm wondering how you can relate. What appliances work for you and what doesn't work for you? I tried the air fryer. I really like that. It's convenient. You don't need to use any water, so I really loved that about it. But I found that my vegetables just didn't taste the same. So this is all part of the transition for me, and I'm wondering if you can relate. What do you like to use and what's working? Love to hear about it in the comments. So if you're familiar with working with beets, you got to be careful because beets easily stain. And I was just having a little laugh because when COVID-19 came out, I thought maybe I would use beets for makeup. And so I would take a beet and rub it on my cheekbones and try to make like an eye makeup out of it and on my lips. And to get it darker, you just hold it and keep pressing and stain it. But I found my face to be sticky, and that all just kind of went away. But I'm wondering, have you ever tried to work with nature? And then it reminded me of this book called Chameleon's Colors, and it's a book I read throughout my entire teaching career. And that's the thing about stories. One story leads to another. We're a story species. Stories are medicine. And it always brought me joy teaching kindergarten and teaching about chameleons and how they change colors. And people, we change personalities. We also change colors when we're not feeling well, but the emphasis on the book, the undertone was people change. And so it just brings me a lot of joy. And then what we would do is we would play chameleon's colors. So chameleon was this chameleon that basically would make different paints with different flowers and whatnot and berries in nature. And so as a teacher, I bought a bunch of sugar and I had all this old crappy dried out chalk. And we would just scratch the sugar. So if you used pink chalk, it would make pink sugar. And so it became part of a science lesson, and, just the understanding that when you're using food, even if it's sugar, once you use it for a craft or science, you can't eat it anymore. And so I always really valued food that was expired or food that, you accidentally dropped on the floor. One time I dropped a bunch of rice. So that actually was really great for me to do science experiments with. And also just trying to inspire families at home that they don't have to look far or spend a lot of money. It's just that time and attention that children need. So I feel like the more I engage with cooking with Gina, the child within me is really engaged. So anyways, just wanted to let you know that my carrots, they're getting softer. The big ones, oh, you can't see them. They're naturally going to take a bit longer to soften, but I want them to be harder at the same time. So I'm going to actually reduce these to 7. And over here, I'm going to start cutting up the pear. So I'm going to add some of the pear to my beets. I'm going to make like a beet pear salad, if you will. And then I'm going to add some of my pears to my reheated pasta creation that I'm doing. So I know it's going to turn out because just by the way it smells, and I'm wondering if you can relate. Oh, and these, I may or may not add these because I just can't help but eat them. Right? Never mind the carrot bugs, Bunny. What's up, Doc? So I'm really enjoying myself today, just chopping away and cooking and dreaming and figuring out what I'm doing. So I'm happy with where the carrots are at. I've removed them from the heat. This one, I felt like it needed more water, so I just took some water from here and put it in there. It's really not a big deal. Sometimes when I cook, I like to have a kettle on the go so I can just easily boil water to add it. It's just part of my ways of knowing. So I had 3 pears. One pear I chopped up small and I just added it to my little beet salad here. There's another pear. I also chopped it up small. That's going to be part of my pasta. And then the last pear, I kept it in bigger pieces. So I just wanted to show you that I'm adding that to my carrots. And I don't know if anybody's ever mixed pear and carrots before. I've never heard of it, but I have a feeling it's going to be scrumdiddlyumptious. All fruit has sugar in it, and carrots also have lots of sugar. I'm going to be squirting some plum sauce into the pan in just a moment. I was thinking about French cuisine. You know, they do this thing where they soak the pears in wine. And I'm not there yet in my journey. But anyways, I'm going to put my pear cores in here and just fill it up with water. And then maybe in an hour or so, I'll drink it. Typically, I would keep this in the fridge overnight, but whatever. I'm wondering, what do you do with your cores? You just toss them into the compost? Do you have a garburator? Let me know in the comments. So I filled this up with pears, just regular cool water. And now I'm going to keep going. Found these 2 little tomatoes in the garden. Just going to eat them now for what they are. They weren't ripe, and that's okay. You got like that tangy taste to them. These peppers, I'm going to cut off the ends and just enjoy them for what they are. But the rest of it, including a lot of the seeds, are going to be going into my pear and carrot dish that I'm going to be adding my leftover pasta to. So just bringing you closer here, I chopped up my green peppers, including the spicy part. Nice big hearty sizes. I'm just going to toss those right into my pot. And I'm going to give my hands a rinse right away so I don't burn myself, rubbing my eyes or whatever can really cause a lot of pain. And like the poet needs the pain, I'm wondering if you can relate. I really enjoy spice. And it's not just like hot in my mouth, it's that nice warm sensation in my stomach that really highlights spicy peppers for me. And I'm wondering if you can relate if you wear contact lenses, because even though you wash your hands later, somehow, you rub your eye and it ends up burning and you end up having to throw contact in the garbage. So let me know if that happens to you. Initially, I was going to do stuff with this. I'm just going to throw this idea away, actually. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow because I'm just excited about the spaghetti being reheated and other ideas that I have brewing. So this is going to be for my reheated pasta, the spaghetti. So I got some parsley and I'm just gonna rip it and toss it in here just like that. The basil, I don't think you can have enough basil. Yesterday I chopped it really fine. Arguably it could have had more basil. The food processor didn't work. I prefer when I'm making basil sauce to use the food processor because I mean, you just can't beat how finely the processor does its job, right? But it still turned out and made a wonderful meal. And just for the hell of it, why not? I wasn't going to, but I'll add some basil to my side dish. I'm just ripping it intentionally so it's in big pieces. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I know it's going to be good. I've never had pickled basil before. I've never heard of pickled basil, but the pickled beets will help out with that. I'm wondering, how are you doing? How do you think this creation is going to turn out? Hopefully good. Okay, so I've got both of my dishes here, including my little beet pear basil salad. And I got my beer and my pepper, just really enjoying the ways of knowing. So now what I'm going to do is I wanted to let you know that I took my pumpkin seeds out of the toaster oven, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And the rest is really simple. You know, the noodles are already cooked. I know you can't hear the fan, but it's very loud. Oh, maybe that light will help you see better. Okay, and I got the fan on level 1. So for my side dish salad, I'm just going to mix it up. When I strained the rest of the jar of beets, I intentionally left some of that beet juice in there because I wanted there to be extra going on my pears. And I'm just making it a point now to make sure that the pears are broken up. So I'm just going to put on pause and do that. So I was just thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to get the scissors here and cut these up. So I'll just put it here so you can see. I thought, you know what? Like, that way the salad is a bit more of like a something that I could put on a spoonful instead of a fork. When I can, I prefer eating with a spoon over a fork. I wonder about you. And the beets, they're creating like a natural salad dressing, if you will. If I wanted to add pickles in here, I could. I'm wondering if you've ever used the scissors in this way. Maybe you will in future. Part of me wants to add raisins to this, but I have to remind myself that I'm already dealing with leftovers. And with the new fridge situation, I don't want there to be too many leftovers. So this is what I'm doing. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to add some seeds to just everything when it's done. So I'm excited about adding seeds to this here. If I wanted to add salt or pepper, I could. If I wanted to pan fry this, I could, but I'm just going to leave it as is. I was also planning to have some bread with dinner, but I might not do that anymore because, as you can see, just working with what I have, I'm already starting to have too much. So I reduced it to 2 maybe 2 is too low of a temperature. Maybe it needs to be at 3. I just kind of felt like being at 3 yesterday was a bit much. So basically, once this gets hot, it already was, remember, because I cooked the carrots. But now that I've added the basil and the pears, I'm just going to wait for this to get nice and hot, and then I'm basically going to pour my leftover spaghetti in there, and it's going to be a whole new spaghetti. This over here, I'm going to be adding some plum sauce, and I was looking over the ingredients, and I didn't realize, but it says red jalapeno peppers. There's puree in here of red jalapeno peppers. I would have never imagined. And I started thinking about those red peppers that I've been using because I anticipated them to be hotter than the green peppers, and they weren't. So when in doubt, I guess you could make something like plum sauce out of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squirt this literally right into the pan. How much? That much. If I wanted to, I could add sugar to it to make like glazed carrots, if you will. But I feel like the sugar from the pears, that's already enough sugar. I'm also going to add some soy sauce. Oh, and this was JC, or PC, excuse me, President's Choice. And the soy sauce that I'm using is Hoya, Hoya, Hoya sauce. Hoya soy sauce. And how much am I going to add? I don't know. Soy sauce is one of those things. Ooh, I thought it might come in like a drip drop lid. So I'm just going to be careful as I pour this. How much will I add? I don't know this much. And maybe I'll add a little bit more. I'll keep this handy. If I find my sauce is too thin, I could add more plum sauce. If I find it's too thick, I could add more water. I've been using the same wooden spoon for everything. But now that I've added the plum sauce, I'm going to commit 1 spoon to 1 dish. The colors are really beautiful. And I think I'm going to bring this one up to a boil. And then I'm going to reduce it. And as it cools, it'll start thickening on its own. So that's something to be mindful of. If you have a sauce and you're like, how come it's not thick yet? It might just be because you need to remove it from the heat. Could also be because you need to add more stuff. So as soon as this is brought to a boil, I'm going to remove it. So it shouldn't take long. This stuff here, it's nicely boiling on a light side. Just going to use the tongs. The colors are really beautiful. Orange and green, the white and brown from the pears. And my carrots, they're soft and they're hard. They're just perfect. Ooh, and this one has a little bit of a spice to it now, thanks to those seeds. Just gonna break up these pieces a little bit that have the seeds in them. So what am I waiting for? How come I'm not adding the sauce? Well, the pasta noodles. There's still a bit too much water in here. I don't want it to be like a soggy spaghetti. This is boiling, so that's great. Just gonna remove it completely from the heat. And it smells really, really good. I had kinds of thoughts going through my mind, and one thought was to actually add the soy sauce to the spaghetti. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll divide the spaghetti in half and put half in here, half in there. But I just thought, you know what, make this as a side dish, and then if I want to incorporate noodles into it, I can. It is thickening, so that's good news. Oh, it smells really good. All right, so when it comes to ways of knowing, I felt like I just needed to put this one here back on the stove. I want to soften up those pears a bit more. Plus, it'll help evaporate any water, leaving all the tasty sugars behind. If I need to add more plum sauce, I will. I'm going to turn this to, I think, 8. I'm still getting used to this oven. This here you could put on rice. You could put it on spaghetti like I'm doing. It's great for leftovers. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts? If you wanted to add a tomato sauce to this and transform it even more, or if you had a can of salsa, adding a can of salsa is always a great way to cheat the system. If you had corn, the yellow, not only would look great, but it would also taste great. So it's important to keep it moving around. You might think to yourself, geez, Gina, you're really inconsistent, boiling things, turning it up, turning it down. Well, that's because this is a way of knowing. It's like when you're working with dough, there's moisture in the air. So when you're adding your, cup of water and vinegar mixture, I remember I just used to dump the whole thing in the flour. And then one day I learned that, oh yeah, there's moisture in the air. I don't remember where I picked up that tip from, but there's moisture in the air. And so even though the recipe calls for adding the whole cup, you may or may not need to add that whole cup. So I can tell now that the water is evaporating. My sauce is getting thicker and my pears are starting to soften. These carrots, I chopped them up thicker than these ones, so they were already on the harder side. So just making sure I'm turning the right one down. I'm just gonna keep this on 1. I may or may not add more soya sauce. We'll see. We will see. Sometimes we think that we have a lot of sauce, but that's just because it's bubbling and it's like there's an illusion, but really when it settles, there's like hardly nothing there. This is really nicely coming along. My pears, I can tell that they're cooking. My carrots, they're not overly soft. This piece is a bigger one and the middle part is still kind of hard. If I had potatoes or turnips, I could put that in here. I always have a little laugh to myself when I read old recipes. Like a traditional apple pie recipe will have 1 pear mixed in there and 1 potato. And it's like, what the heck is a pear and a potato doing in an apple pie? And it's like, well, your grandma never told you that, but she was just using whatever was on hand and just told you it was apple pie. But really, there was a potato mixed in there and a pear, and you didn't know any different. And now I'm thinking about cinnamon, and I'm going to look. And if I find cinnamon, I'm going to put some in there. So I found a bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon, you don't need a whole lot of it. And if I were to do this recipe over again, I would take the pears and toss it with cinnamon. And if you have leftover pears or apples with cinnamon, it would be ideal to mix them in. I'm just gonna remove this from the heat and let magic do its own thing. Just to show you, you can see that the sauce has thickened. This here, I need to get to it. So I just put water in it. And I'd like to put a little bit of butter in there. I already have lots of butter on my noodles, but when I'm working with noodles, I just love adding butter. And if I didn't have butter on hand, I could absolutely use some canola oil or vegetable oil. My favorite is olive oil when I'm frying things. So I've got the carrots on the side here, just kind of marrying their flavors. Sauce is nice and thick. This here, I've got my butter. So that's nice and melted. And then basically, I'm going to add my noodles now. So I'm just going to evenly distribute my ingredients. Put yesterday's dinner right on top. And there's all those seeds. They're at the bottom. And I just love spaghetti in particular. They're my favorite noodles. And it's so funny because when it comes to spaghetti, I like taking these big bites. But when it comes to penne noodles, I like strategically only put 2 or 3 penne noodles on a spoon and eat it. So I'm wondering if you're like that too. The reason I'm doing this is because I just want the noodles to like soak up the flavor. I don't want to spend too much time tossing and turning it. This is a beautiful color. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a nice spicy dish. Given all of the, excuse me, seeds that are in there. These green pieces just taste like hot peppers, or green peppers. They don't even taste hot, but the seeds are hot. And I'm really excited about this other dish with the cinnamon that I just added. It smells fantastic in here. So while this is just heating up, sneak a drink of beer. My beet salad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my plate, and then I'll put the pumpkin seeds all over the plate. That's what I'm going to do. So let me just get a plate now, and I'll put it all together, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So this just smells phenomenal. I've got my pear water here, which I did a little taste test. It doesn't taste like pears, but the process is starting, so I'll probably drink that within the next hour. I've also got Kirkland sea salt, so I'm just going to add that everywhere. And pepper, I'm using Kirkland black pepper, also going to put that everywhere. And I put my pumpkin seeds on top of everything. So I'm going to use a fork. I might use a spoon as well. So I just want a little bit of everything here. This is the leftover pasta, spaghetti with pears and carrots added to it, more green peppers, lots of seeds, and more basil was added, and it smells phenomenal, looks phenomenal. As anticipated, it tastes phenomenal. Really appreciate the fried green peppers, the pears and the carrots. It came together really nicely. and there's like a nice oil on it. It's hard to pick up with a spoon. I mean, a fork. I feel like it could use more salt. Okay, let's take out the spoon. This is the cold salad, pears with basil, beets, and pumpkin seeds. Really good. Had I thought about it, I could have added cinnamon in there too. Tastes really good, really fresh. Homemade is best made, even if it's a peanut butter sandwich. Sweetness of the pears combined with the beets, pickled beets, really nice together. This here just looks phenomenal. It's all like glazed looking. So I want to get a piece with a spoonful of pears and carrot. And I want to make sure that there's some pumpkin seeds on there. Here's your bite. That's even better than I expected. Smells like a pie taste to it. It's like dessert carrots, and I didn't add any sugar. I know there's lots of sugar in the plum sauce. So even if I didn't have carrots, I think I would be happy to do this again, just with pears. I've got my beer on the go. I've got my pear water. And it just brings me so much joy to do cooking with Gina. You know, I was feeling insecure about it. And I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback because, yeah, you know what? We're sharing recipes, but we're also sharing our ways of knowing and sharing our stories. And food is medicine, and stories are medicine too. So can you imagine going to the doctors and the doctor writing you a prescription to go and make sure that you get some carrots, for example? Now that's forward thinking, not my idea, but food, colors are all around us. Everything we need is in and around us. Sometimes we need help with medicine, but for what it's worth, if we can put our time and energy into ourselves and discover our ways of knowing and share our medicine, like me today putting pears with carrots. I've never heard of pears paired with carrots before. If you have, please let me know. Maybe I picked that up somewhere and I don't remember. I'm wondering if you've ever cooked with pears and carrots. At the last minute, I grabbed cinnamon. Had I not thought about that story about, like, you know, traditional apple pie basically includes potatoes and pears, I don't know if I would have even thought about that to add the cinnamon. So that's all part of the foraging and the discovering, and a strong reminder that when we're setting goals, not to get hung up on an end result, because the end result, I don't feel really ever was the end result. It was just a seed that was planted. So the logical mind had something to work with, so the imagination could forward and forage. And as long as we're dreaming, the awakening dreamers we are, that's our job, is to dream. And the job of the dreams is to find a way. So thank you for dreaming with me, with Cooking with Gina, because my dreams, your dreams, they're able to come together and do things like add cinnamon and do things like add pears and carrots. And I kind of feel emotional because this is just a beautiful thing. Life is beautiful, and the power is in its simplicity. And I'm thankful for the food and thinking about where food comes from. Some of this food came straight from the garden today. Some of it was packaged and processed, and I'm thankful for the truckers who brought it to the stores. and the folks who, pick those ingredients, and for the artificial intelligences and machines that help to assist in the picking and packaging and sorting. And I feel like I wanted to mention something else. Uh, I'm thankful for this extra beer that I found. Was it an extra beer? I don't know. Don't know and don't care. Just know that I'm thankful for it. I had plans to use the bread. I didn't use the bread. That's okay. I'll use it tomorrow. I might end up taking a piece of the bread and just soaping up all the sauce. If I had pineapples on hand, I could add pineapple to this carrot dish. It's just so easy to dream. And now I remember what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that initially I wanted to use the milk, the almond milk, and mix it with the vegan cheese. And I just ended up scrapping that idea entirely. So ended up with a beautiful meal either way. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts? Did you have a thought, or did a thought have you? Again, my name is Gina Virginia Casella. Thank you for joining me on Cooking with Gina. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Gina Virginia Casella. And I would love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. Until next time, take care. And I'd love to hear how you relate in the comments. See you next time.